Welcome back. Thank you for attending our next two lessons on the introduction to equity and inclusion. I wanted to tell you how proud I am of all of you for attending these sessions. We were introduced to what the expectations and inspirations of a leader was, skills building, exploring mental fitness as a leader, how grit and resilience is vital, and how we learn about and now we're going to learn about equity and how inclusion falls into this. So, equity means the quality of being fair and impartial, or it can also mean the freedom from bias or favoritism. And equity means the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities, or the quality or state of equal. But what does that mean? So equity is like if a course you like is free, then you register and you start applying your time on the computer at home. Equity means that if you like to register for that same free course, but you are not able to because your family can't afford a computer, access is the reason why equity can be unequal. Families without a computer and or internet access may have to work or go to school where there are computers and or Wi-Fi in the parking lots or even at libraries. Imagine that it takes twice as hard to access that same course than if you were able to, if it was available at your house. So this is a video from Hear Me Out, and I will play only a little part of it, and then I'll talk a little bit about it, and here we go. Oh, sorry.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Wynne, Ontario Minister of Education. I think we can all agree that everyone should feel safe, welcome, and respected in all of our schools. All students deserve the opportunity to reach their full potential. To do that, they need to feel safe so that they can focus on learning. Young people notice silence and they notice inaction. We can all stand up to show that discrimination and harassment are not acceptable. Everyone has the right to be safe, strong, and free.
Equity and inclusion have everything to do with learning, because if you don't have the basic necessities, which is confidence, motivation, encouragement, you can't go forward with anything in your life. So you need support in any way, shape, or form you can get.
I'm fighting to make it.
Okay, so that is a bit more about how equity mindedness occurs. As a leader, you will need to be able to identify and act on any bias based on race, culture, sexual orientation, gender, disabilities, etc., and or eliminate any unfairness based on these biases in your group or area, like a classroom. So here's a quick quiz from whatsrace.org, and it is supposed to be just a quiz about what has influenced you so far. If you said, hey, I didn't read anything, I couldn't prepare for this quiz, it's not really something that you can prepare for. This is just to see where you were, how you decide on race based on who or what has influenced you, like your parents, your school, your friends, TV, online. So this is not something that you can prepare for. So number one, members of a race can be identified by their blood group, skin color, ancestry, genes, all of the above, none of the above. So the answer is F, none of the above. There are no traits, no characteristics, not even one gene that distinguishes all members of one so-called race from all members of another. The A, B, O blood groups can be found in all the world's peoples. Skin color tends to correspond with latitude, not race. And ancestry is difficult to trace. Go back 30 generations, less than 1,000 years, and you have 1 billion ancestors. So the second question is, which continent has the greatest human genetic diversity? Europe, Asia, South America, Africa, North America? The answer is E, Africa. All modern humans originated from Africa, and we spent most of our evolution as a species together there. All the other populations of the world can be seen as a subset of Africans. Every human trait found elsewhere can also be found in Africa, with the exception of a few recent variations favored by the environment or sexual selection, such as light complected skin. 3. Which of the following was not an important reason why African slavery first took root in North America? A. As non-Christians, they had no legal protections. B. They were skilled semi-tropical farmers. C. The supply of indentured servants from Europe was becoming unreliable. D. They were deemed innately inferior. E. Unlike Native Americans, they were resistant to European diseases. Or F. They couldn't easily run away. So think about it. What are not an important reason why slavery first took? So let's see. The answer is D. They were deemed innately inferior. Throughout much of history, societies have enslaved people, often at the result of conquest, war, or even death. People were not enslaved because they were first deemed inferior. African slaves were well suited to labor in North America. Unlike the Indians, they were resistant to European diseases. They couldn't easily run away. They were not Christians and hence unprotected by English law, and they were skilled semi-tropical farmers. Over time, the degradation of slavery became identified with Blackness, giving white Americans the idea that Africans were a fundamentally different kind of people. So number 4, which is not an example of a government racial preference program? A, 1964 Civil Rights Act. B, 1862 Homestead Act. C, 1790 Naturalization Act. D, 1934 Federal Housing. E, 1935 Social Security Act. So which is not an example of a government racial preference program? The answer is A, 1964 Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act made racial discrimination in public places illegal. The other programs are all examples of racial preferences for white people. Over a 40-year period, the Homestead Act gave away for free 207 million acres of land, formerly Indian territory, almost all of it to white people. The Naturalization Act allowed only, quote, free white persons to adopt citizenship, thus opening voting rights and property ownership to European immigrants, but barring Asians and other groups. Racial barriers to citizenship were not removed until 1952. The Federal Housing Administration made it possible for millions of average white Americans, but not others, to own a home for the first time. The Social Security Act specifically exempted 2 occupations from coverage: farm workers and domestics, both largely non-white. As a leader, you develop equity-minded behaviors to ensure that your team members access opportunities for growth without barriers such as discrimination, harassment, or humility. The next assignment for the next lesson is an inclusiveness article by the Washington Post. It is about how game video studios are looking at not only helping children who have physical disabilities, but also looking at cognitive abilities, such as children with autism. And so it is a very different article, and I highly encourage you to read it and to think about how inclusiveness is for the next time. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time.